Do you have a system? Is it based on hours? Is it based on the scope of work? Is it based on a square footage? Is it based on a percentage? Is it a combination? Like, what is the method that you follow to calculate your design fee? It's really important that you start to find a repeatable system you can use. It makes everything more streamlined and everything goes so much faster.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
Hey, it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I want to walk you through the 5 systems that you need in your interior design business. These, in my opinion, are the non-negotiables that every design firm needs in order to be successful, in order to run a successful project and keep your clients happy. I'm going to walk you through all 5 of them right now. Number 1, you need an onboarding process. This is highly important. Your onboarding is essentially how you welcome a new client into your fold. You want this to be your first impression. You've already gone through the sales process, right? You've already got them to sign on the dotted line. They've signed their contract, and now what? Or maybe they've just sent an email saying, yes, we're good to go. Now what? This is going to be the first glimpse to this new client of what it's going to be like to work with you. You want to set the stage. You want to be in charge. You want to be really the best professional you can be at the very beginning, because you are setting the tone for your entire, let's face it, like 18 months probably of working together if it's a big project, at least. So you want to make them feel like they've made the right choice. You've heard the term buyer's remorse before, I'm sure. Think about it. This is a big investment, and likely this client is investing thousands of dollars to work with you, if not tens of thousands of dollars. This might actually be the biggest investment besides their home they've ever made for their family. And so I want you to be very aware of the fact, and when we see big numbers every day, all day, sometimes we can forget that could be, even though it may not appear on the surface, this could be kind of a scary investment for your new client. And so you want to make them feel like they've made the right choice so that you can avoid buyer's remorse. Too many designers, I think, make the mistake of getting the clients to sign the contract. Maybe they take the deposit, maybe they defer taking the deposit, and then they do one of 2 things. 1, they dive right in. They just start running around the city, sourcing, Pinterest boarding, creating mood boards, and they're just doing all the work, but they're not necessarily in touch with the client. Or 2, they don't do anything because they have a pipeline, or they know that this project isn't going to start until a certain date, so they kind of put their foot off the gas. You've been in constant communication up until the time the client has signed this contract, and now they feel a little bit neglected, a little bit ghosted. This process of onboarding a new client is more than just signing a contract. It literally can take anywhere between 7 days and 30 days. And that depends on what your process is and when the project's going to kickstart and when you're going to be working with the client or working with your team or working with the contractor. So what happens is designers can get too busy, or they completely neglect their client and they're not communicating with their client. If you listen to the last episode I just recorded, you know that one of the key factors that I shared to client satisfaction, to attracting and booking those repeat clients, is communicating with your clients on an ongoing basis. So give them something to do. I recommend that you ask them for anything. Make them feel like they're involved to an extent so that it doesn't feel like too much, because sometimes we're not as collaborative as maybe clients expect if you are like me. I used to say we love to collaborate with our clients, and then I realized no, we don't actually. I like to collaborate with my team members and my trades, and then show my clients. Anyhow, I digress. Give them something to do. It could be sharing a Pinterest with you. It could be getting them to fill out a client questionnaire. Whatever it might be to get them involved, get some dates from them of when you're going to meet next, whatever it might be. And then I always recommend you give them a little thank you. That's more than just thanks for signing your contract. Like, here's your invoice or here's your receipt of payment. What we typically like to do is do a handwritten thank you card and send it in the mail. I think this goes a long way. A lot of us don't get letters in the mail anymore. We don't get handwritten anything, and there's something about that level, that next level of touching base with your client. You could maybe send them a Starbucks card and say, hey, like, here's, treat yourself to a little latte. We're about to dive in and do, the big work, or you enjoy this while we're doing the heavy lifting. You could send them a gift. I like a card, but something, and then whatever it is that you do at the beginning or end of this onboarding process that you develop is make sure you're consistent and you do it the same with every client. You don't want one client saying like, oh, wow, they like sent us out for dinner. And then somebody else say, oh, well, I think I got a card. I don't know. Make sure you're consistent so that you can become known for something. Build that anticipation. Get them excited. Make them think, shoot, I made the right decision. This is something that I share inside Power of Process. I actually walk through a very expansive onboarding process right from the moment they reach out to you. So the sales process leading into onboarding, into trade day. But that is one of the fundamental ways to kickstart a project on the right foot, is having a really strong onboarding process. Okay, number 2, the second system that you need in your design firm, offboarding. Similar to onboarding. Really, I bet you didn't think I was going to go there next. That's the end of the project. I'm kind of bookending it right at the beginning. So offboarding is really important. You want to make sure you are leaving a good taste in your client's mouth. Like, you want them to leave feeling good and remembering the good. It's funny, it doesn't seem to matter how a project goes or whatever wins you might have. If the end kind of sucks, that's what you remember, right? It's like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, you can have the best vacation, but then something happens on the last day that, like, maybe the resort screws up the timing, or there's a food issue or something. And like, it's hard to kick that. Like, it's the recency bias. It's the last thing that is in their brain. And with a project, it could be a big thing. So we want to make sure that you handle the end of a project well so that you can offboard your clients and it doesn't just trickle down. Here's a mistake that I see designers making. Too many of us are so tired by the end of the project, the excitement has worn off. The clients are maybe already living in their house. They're back in with their new things, their new renovation, kitchen, whatever it is that you do. They're noticing things that need to get fixed or that went wrong, or maybe you're waiting on something that's back ordered that's still not coming for a while, and it just feels like, God, this thing is like dragging on. Can it please be over? Does anyone relate? Hello, this is like so many projects. It just trickles and it kind of fizzles out, and it sucks. Like, it totally sucks. So there's lots of things you can do in the delivery of your service that to help tighten that up so that you don't have these remnants and these deficiencies landing at the end that drag on forever. But as part of your offboarding, what you can do is have a very clear deficiencies process where you walk through, you identify the deficiencies, you have a plan to tackle them and make sure everything gets taken care of, and you have deadlines and due dates. But then apart from that, how do you know when it's over? Do you have a definite line? What about billing? What is your process when it's at the end of the project? Are you waiting to bill the client several weeks after you're done? Or are you getting that invoice ahead of time in order to do the reveal? What does the offboarding look like for you? This is the last taste they're going to have. You want to end strong, just like you want to start strong, even if maybe things fell off the rails a little bit. Maybe they're upset with the contractor. That's never happened. Or maybe they're upset with you or someone on your team screwed up. Like, how can we redeem ourselves at the end? And I recently went through a project like this where I did have to redeem ourselves because someone on my team just didn't do things the way that the client had hoped, and they were frustrated with a team member. And so I had to step in as the business owner and say, listen, I'm your point of contact. Here we go. Here's what's coming up next. Here's the delivery schedule. Here's when you're going to get the incentive retainer. We're going to reconcile that for you. Like, show them you're still in charge and that you haven't moved on to the next project. Think about, it was just on site, so this is top of mind, but think about those construction projects that are finishing and they're like kind of finished, but then the contractor's moved on to another project. And you know it, the client knows it, and you just need them to come back to fix the frickin' baseboard. And it feels like weeks to get them back to finish it. Don't be like that contractor. Don't be the person that everyone knows she's moved on to the next juicy, shiny design project and we're kind of a thorn in her side. Don't be that designer. So a lot of things I like to do is you could give a gift. One of the things we've done is give a photo book. I'm looking around. If you're on YouTube, I'm trying to find an example. I'm going to show you an example. And if you are listening, you can pop on over to YouTube to have a look. But we do these cute little photo books. We used to do this in a binder at the end. We give them a binder that has all of the specifications, it has care instructions, it has their full design package, also a book, right? This is a little photo book before and after. It's a nice little coffee table, leave behind to let them know, hey, look at the transformation, so beautiful, we love you. And I always recommend you do a survey. I think it's important to find out, and I talked about this a lot in last week's episode, so go back and check it out. But I think it's really important to have insight into how you've done, because let's be honest, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, and it's helpful to know if there are areas where you could improve. Also asking for referrals, but get very clear on how you're going to end that working relationship so that there's a definitive end, a thank you, and then a year later, send them a little anniversary gift, a card, an email, something to let them know, hey, it's been a year since we finished your project and we're just thinking about you. Hope you're enjoying your new home. Come up with a process and get it on paper. Okay, the third system you need in your design firm is a system for design approvals. This is really important because for a lot of us, not only are we designing, we're sourcing and we're selecting hard materials and finishes like the plumbing, the flooring, the tile, the lighting. We're doing all the decorating as well sometimes. And we need to make sure the client has signed off on the choices that we have made, right? That is something that I know in the early years I didn't do. And then what could happen is you could get into a situation where it's like, no, I didn't approve that. Oh, that doesn't look like I thought. Or this is totally the wrong size for the space. Make sure you have a system to get your clients to sign off on your designs. And what that might look like could be different from you than it is for me. For me, design approval involves two steps in my process. It is getting the concept and budget approved, and then getting all the items approved at presentation. How do you run your presentations? What do they look like? Where do you do them? How long are they? When are they? At what point after the client has hired you are you presenting ideas? These are the systems you need to iron out. And you need to do it you need to do it the same way every single time. Are you getting a client signature? Is an email approval enough? What does it say in your contract? Do you have revisions? If so, how many? Consider how you're going to get them to sign off and approve so that you have peace of mind knowing that if the client then says, I don't like this, you don't have to sweat that happening because they've already seen it and they've approved it. Or you can say, listen, this was based on what we sent you and it was approved. At least it'll give you peace of mind. So figure out how you're going to present your ideas and then figure out how you're going to get them to approve your ideas and how are they going to approve the budget? And this is a big one because I used to kind of get a ballpark budget and then we get to presentation after I'd sourced everything and we finally were pricing everything always at the 12th hour. And it would be 10 o'clock at night here in the studio, like a full design team. We're still working here, like burning the midnight oil almost. And we were way over budget, like way over budget. But we hadn't really had a very specific idea. We just had a ballpark conversation. And so there wasn't really a client approving a budget. And so then we would have to present it and claw back and make changes, and it was time consuming, and it made us look like we weren't professional and we didn't value their money and like all the things. So getting approval on a budget made shopping for them or sourcing so much more fun and easier, because I knew as long as it fits in this budget, like anything goes. So figure out your system for approving your design and budget. System number 4 that you need in your design firm is, how are you presenting your design fees, your proposal? How do you communicate that to your client? And how do you calculate? So let's start there. First of all, you need to have a process for presenting your fees. So how do you come up with your fee, and how do you show it to your client? And the reason I think this is really important, because this will make your job a lot easier as you grow and scale if you have a repeatable system for this. If every time you are just winging it, or you're just hourly and you're like, well, I mean, hey, if this works for you and you just say, we're $130 an hour, we don't know how many hours it's going to be, but let's just start. And if your clients are okay with that and you love that system, by all means, like a lawyer, have at it. However, if that's not you, you need a system for how you calculate your design fee and then how you present it to your client. So I would start with, first of all, how do you calculate your design fee? Do you have a system? Is it based on hours? Is it based on the scope of work? Is it based on a square footage? Is it based on a percentage? Is it a combination? Like, what is the method that you follow to calculate your design fee? It's really important that you start to find a repeatable system you can use. It makes everything more streamlined and everything goes so much faster. So how do you calculate your fees? Use the same system with every project. As you get good at this, you will tweak it and hone it so that eventually, as you decide to scale, you could have someone on your team could actually calculate it for you, present it to you for review. So you're not agonizing over days or hours trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to charge this client for this project? If you need help calculating your design fees, or you just want to see how others are doing it, you guys can grab my course. It's called Pricing with Confidence. Just go to RebeccaHay.com/pricing. I do walk you through all the models that I see in the industry, the one that I have used, and the pros and cons. So hopefully that can help give you some direction if you are struggling in that area. But the other part of it is, once you know how you calculate your fees, you need to understand the next part of that process, which would be, when do you charge them and when do you collect them? So I guess collect and charge is the same thing. Like, when are you collecting, or when are they due? Do you have a deposit structure? Do you have a payment or billing schedule? You need to know what that is, because this way you can educate your clients ahead of time. They always know when the money's coming out or when it will be due, and you can plan your own cash flow based on when you're getting paid. And then, of course, the last part of this would be, after you've figured out how you're going to calculate your fees, you know how and when you're going to charge those and expect payment, would be how are you presenting them to your client? Like, really, that's what this is about, is how do we present them to our client to get a yes? You need a process. You need to know, is it a consultation followed by a circle back call? That's something that I teach in my program, which is arranging a time to review it with them as opposed to just sending the email off into the ether. But determine what that system or process is so that you're doing it the same way with every project. Okay, the very last system is not one that you will expect. And this is one that just really, I feel like the reason I recorded this episode is because of number 5. Let me take a sip of my tea. Hold on to your horses. All right. This came out of a one-on-one coaching call that I had last week with one of my private clients. I've been helping designers just a handful a year, just on a one-on-one basis, and it's actually been really amazing because I can really, really affect change in their business on such an immediate ground level. But what has also been amazing is to see like what areas am I helping them with that I almost took for granted that I was doing in my own business, that sometimes I didn't even think about. I don't even think to teach this inside my programs yet because I don't know why, right? Sometimes you just do things and you figure out a better way and then you just function with the better way. And then you realize, oh my God, this has been integral to my business. And so that system that came out of my call last week was order tracking. And I do believe I will do a whole episode on this because I think this is a really, really helpful, tangible, concrete lesson. But many designers want to resell products for their clients. Many aren't doing that yet. And in this designer's case, that was the case. She wasn't yet buying products for her clients or on their behalf. She was just picking them and the clients would buy them. And she's like, I really want to practice what you preach, Rebecca, and start making money off of products. I want to be in control of that. I want to buy them and I want to sell them. And so we talked a lot about that and how to get that in front of you, how to talk about that with your client and the benefits of it. But then we got into the real nitty gritty. And as I was chatting with her, I was like, oh my God, I have to share this with other people. Is you need to have a system to track those orders for the longest time. Now, I've always resold products to clients, to be clear. Sometimes I share discounts. Sometimes I pass them on. I don't do that anymore. So I've kind of tested the waters. Regardless of that, I always struggled with keeping track of everything. And I know that if you're listening and you order products for clients, you've probably felt this way too. Or if you haven't even started doing it, you might be afraid because you're worried about how do I keep track of all this stuff. And yes, softwares and programs are helpful, but you need a system. You need a system internally of how you are going to do it. And so one of the things that I taught her that I will teach you today is you need to have a system for placing your orders. So maybe you're placing purchase orders using QuickBooks, design docs, design files, whatever is out there. You're creating purchase orders that you're sending to your vendors, right? You're getting a vendor receipt and you're tracking what you've paid and when it's been ordered and what date. Now, a lot of programs will have the ability to do this inside the program, or you could do this in Excel. When I first started and I was working for another designer, we placed a ton of orders. We did huge houses and I didn't have a system. And there was no one before me to teach me their system because they were already gone. And I stepped into this role with nobody to onboard me except the owner, and he was too busy. And so I had to come up with my own. And I tried so many different iterations over the years. And that was one of my biggest struggles as a designer, was how the frick do I keep track of all these products, these fabrics? I've got like these fabrics I'm ordering from Craft are going to that person to make pillows. These fabrics are going for a custom chair. Then we've got that table that we ordered from the store. Then I've got the crate and barrel. And then I'm like, I would wake up in the middle of the night sweating, stressed out, nightmares. Did I forget to order something? I haven't followed up. I wonder where that is. Can you relate to this? I feel like I need to maybe talk more about this because it's like bringing back some trauma, which means other people have experienced the trauma. You need a system, guys. Focus on getting yourself a system that's repeatable that you can use over and over again to place these orders. A couple tips. Purchase orders are your friend. They feel like they're time consuming to make at the time because you just want to bang out the orders and you don't want to slow down to create a purchase order to send it to your vendor. Do that. Do a purchase order, even if it's to a retail store and you're just calling to put on a credit card. Do a purchase order for every frickin' thing you order. Secondly, track each item's status and have a cadence to do this. What do I mean by cadence? I mean, what is the regularity with which you are going to be looking at the order status? And you can determine what you want those statuses to be. We do this inside Design Docs, but we've done it also in Excel. You can create your own drop-down menus. I'm sure I can figure out a way to teach more on this later, but figure out, is it ordered? If so, on what date? Has it been delivered yet? Has it been received yet? Has it been inspected? Like, what are the statuses? Because you think you're going to remember? Yeah. You're not going to remember. you have so many things flying around. And actually, I'm just going to say, part of why I think I'm so passionate about process and systems is because I historically have had a very weak memory in that it's not sticky. Like, things don't stick. Like, certain key important things will stick, but I don't remember day to day. I don't remember those details. Like, I've got too many other things on my brain I do not remember. So if I did not have process and systems, I would be a shit show. Pardon my French. Sorry. So figure out a cadence of when you're going to review that. We call that order tracking, and we do that weekly internally so that we can make sure we're on top of orders once the orders start being placed. And then lastly, I would say my last tip for having an order tracking system would be consider delivery plans and schedules. Do you ship things to a receiver and everything's delivered at once? Are you shipping things to your client? If that happens, who's there to inspect? Like, consider your delivery schedules and consider ahead of time when you think these items are going to be delivered. Even if it's total guesstimate. Like, we'll often say, okay, we're placing orders in June. Let's put a tentative delivery date for October. Okay? Let's start thinking about it. Let's start making sure we're on top of things, because part of order tracking is knowing when it's time to collect any remaining money from your client. So get yourself an order tracking process. It could be simple as an Excel spreadsheet where you list everything, and maybe once a week or every 2 weeks you go in, you follow up with vendors and you check it out. But if you don't have a system, things will slip through the cracks. It'll be time to deliver and you'll find out, oh my God, we never ordered that chair rail tile. Or, oh my God, I can't believe, remember, shoot, they told me it was back ordered and I needed to reselect, but I got so busy I completely forgot to call back. Or, oh my God, that fabric is delayed still? I thought it was only 2 weeks. It's been like 6 weeks and the fabric still hasn't shipped, which means they can't make the couch. Things happen. Make sure you have a system for order tracking to alleviate all the nightmares. Okay, there you have it. Those are 5 really key systems to help you in your interior design firm. If you guys love talking about systems and process, you will need to join me inside Power of Process. That is where the magic happens. That is where I walk you through every client-facing process to get you from a project from A to Z. And I'm excited to even this year dive in a lot more into the inner workings of a design firm. I think a lot of designers are hungry for that. If you liked this episode, if you want more things like order tracking or how do I run my weekly team meetings and more of the internal workings and innards and gears of a business, then please let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram. I would love for you to leave a review of the podcast, please. It makes so much difference for me. I love seeing your reviews up there. Just drop a 5-star on iTunes. We'd love that. And I appreciate you for listening. You got this. This is going to be a good year. I'll see you soon.